Technically, De'Aaron Fox still has 2 years left on his current contract. However, this is the first season where he can earn the coveted Supermax. What has to happen in order for that to take place? Well, it's something that he's already done once before. We'll talk about it, plus the likelihood of it happening with my partner Kevin John from ABC 10 right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all off-season long. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News, back here inside of Levi's Stadium, covering more of San Francisco 49ers training camp. If you missed it, last week I did a podcast here talking about Domantas Sabonis and the $40+ million per year that he's going to be paid. This is the first year of that big contract, but that's still not the Supermax. There's only one player eligible to receive the Supermax on this team, or in a position to potentially be eligible to earn that, and that's De'Aaron Fox. But in order to do that, he has to make an All-NBA team again. He makes All-NBA at any point in the final 2 years of this deal, then he is eligible for that Supermax contract, meaning he could be paid the most money that you can possibly get. It would make him probably one of the highest, if not the highest paid player in the NBA at that point in time, at least until someone else got another bigger Supermax on top of that. My partner from ABC 10, Kevin John, he and I in the car on our way here to Levi's Stadium today decided to hit the record button and talk a little bit about the likelihood of that taking place and whether or not there's a scenario where Fox could be eligible to receive a Supermax contract and the Kings be hesitant to give it to him. So we break that all down. Just a word of warning compared to the microphone setup that I have here. The mic is off of the phone, so it's not as good as it normally is, but it's manageable, it's listenable. I know you can get through it. I just apologize for it being a little bit different than the normal quality, but this is like the third or fourth time that we've recorded a podcast while driving to the Bay or driving somewhere together. We always have a good time, so please enjoy my conversation on the road with ABC 10's Kevin John. Well, you're in the sports vehicle with Matt George and Kevin John of ABC 10. We're back on our way to Santa Clara for 49ers training camp. Kev, last time we were at training camp, which was last week, I had a conversation on Locked On Kings. I brought up the Brandon Ayuk situation, which of course is what we're all monitoring with the Niners going on and his payday. And I used that to kind of branch into a conversation about Domantas Sabonis, who is in year one of a new contract or a contract extension that he signed with the Kings. This is the first year where he's paid $40+ million, which is more money than De'Aaron Fox is making. But we're going to focus on De'Aaron Fox for this podcast because De'Aaron it's essentially a contract year for Fox, right? If De'Aaron Fox makes an All-NBA team either this season or next season, which, remember, he's already done that with the Kings, then he is eligible for the Supermax. That is the reason why he's turned down 2 contract extensions with the Kings valued at over $100 million, which is crazy that you can walk away from $100 million because you believe that you can get more. So knowing that this is essentially a contract year for Fox, if Fox plays well enough to make an All-NBA team, he can get that Supermax. I guess let's start here. In your mind, what does Fox have to do to make an All-NBA team? Because some would argue the only reason he made it in the first place 2 years ago was just because of the Kings' success and their turnaround. Because I would argue Fox's numbers and Fox's play probably last season, when he didn't make the All-NBA team, was better. He had a better season, had a three-point shooting, but the Kings did not play as well. So is it once again if Fox is going to make an All-NBA team, the Kings have to be back in like the top 3, top 4 seed conversation and a 50-plus win team?
Well, first of all, when you look at De'Aaron Fox from last year and what he was able to do, he led the league in steals, as far as, overall steals. His three-point shooting shot up, I don't want to say astronomically, but significantly.
Yeah, 37% on almost 8 threes a game.
Exactly. So you look at what he's been able to do, and this is coming off in All-NBA third-team selection the previous season and his first All-Star appearance. Fox last season was pretty lethal.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, when you look at going into this year, and first of all, I want to say, I appreciate the fact that Fox is betting on himself.
Sure.
You always love to see a player, whether NFL, NBA, what have you, bet on themselves because they know what they can do.
For sure.
The only thing well, first of all, going back to his All-NBA season a couple of seasons ago, he was also the clutch player of the year, the inaugural clutch player of the year.
True.
In that fourth quarter, he led in a number of statistical categories when it came to fourth quarter points, points in clutch minutes, all of those other things, hence why he won the award.
Beat DeMar DeRozan, too.
Very true, which I'm glad you mentioned DeMar DeRozan because that kind of leads me to my next point. You look at this year, what the man has to do. Interesting thing is, obviously the Kings acquired the 6-time All-Star in DeMar DeRozan. And remind me, who was the clutch player of the year just this past season? So, with that being said, DeMar DeRozan and De'Aaron Fox are going to share the ball a lot. At least that's how I foresee it. I'm sure Mike Brown and they know what they're doing, but at least as an outsider looking in. When it comes to those clutch minutes in the fourth quarter, when you have someone like DeMar DeRozan who can create his own shot, has a good mid-range, pretty much can do a lot of things, that's going to open up things for De'Aaron and other players. So the reason why I say that, Matt, getting back to De'Aaron Fox, I feel that De'Aaron has truly shown his value in the fourth quarter. How many times have we seen him get off to slow starts or be kind of passive in the first half of the game? And then in the third or fourth quarter, you just see De'Aaron turn it on and turn it into De'Aaron. Go and hit that little elbow jumper, hit that little elbow jumper, just shout, whatever. You see him elevate his play in the fourth quarter. That, to me, is where he shows his value. So now when you have DeMar DeRozan on the team, someone who's going to share the ball with him a lot, I'm assuming in those clutch minutes, because of the type of player that DeMar is, does that in a way take away from Fox's true value that we've seen down the stretch? Does that mean that Fox has to be more aggressive earlier in the game to truly get his points and things of that sort? That's what's going to be simple. So I say that to say this, Matt. In a way, Fox is still going to be Fox. First of all, I shouldn't say he's entering. He's in the prime of his career right now. This is he's entering his 7th or 8th season in the league. I don't know off the top of my head. He came in 2017, so do the math. But he's in his prime. The expectation is high. He wants to show his value. I don't know with DeMar there if he's going to be more efficient in those moments than we've seen the last couple of years. So I say it to say, sure, can he still be an all-star with DeMar DeRozan there? Sure. Can he still be an all-NBA player with DeMar DeRozan there? Sure. Could he be a clutch player of the year again with DeMar DeRozan there? Sure, but I don't think those titles or accomplishments are going to come, shall I say, easier with DeMar DeRozan there. I think that is going to make things in the dynamic a little bit more different for him.
And kind of building off of that, too, to me, the belief is if De'Aaron's going to be an All-NBA player this year, he has to be better than he's ever been before. Because I think, and this is not to discredit what he did, I think he won All-NBA player through surprise vote. The Sacramento Kings cleaned up on awards that year because, this team came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? They had to do it. De'Aaron, you're not going to get that surprise vote anymore. You have to be either a number 1, number 2 seed, or De'Aaron has to play. Remember the way he started last season? How he was averaging 30 points per game and was up there in scoring with Embiid.
He was top 5. He was top 5 in the league.
He's one of the best scorers in the league. I think he needs to be that for a full season. That's how he gets paid. Or that's how he gets the All-NBA, which gets him paid. So knowing that is probably what has to happen, and Fox is aware of this too, right? Everybody around him is aware of this. He's in Clutch Sports, right? Rich Paul is his guy. So he knows, they all know how this works. They've had a lot of All-NBA clients and Supermax clients. So Fox, I guarantee you, knows what he has to do in order to get this bag. The question is, will he actually be able to do it? Now, thankfully, seamlessly, it goes hand in hand. Fox, at his absolute best, winning All-NBA, I think also means the Sacramento Kings are winning a lot of games. So that kind of leads me into the next part of this conversation that I wanted to have is there a scenario in your mind that De'Aaron makes an All-NBA team again, is eligible for the Supermax extension, and the Kings are hesitant to pay him? I'll let you answer that, and I'll share my thoughts on it too, because I don't want to influence you one way or another. But is there a scenario in your mind where Fox could be eligible for the Supermax, meaning he made the All-NBA team this year, and the Kings might be hesitant to give him that money?
Yes and no. I say yes, and I'll explain both sides. Yes, because we've seen this Kings team be apprehensive at paying people. For example, let's just, even though he's not a player, let's just look at this offseason. Mike Brown, the head coach, he was asking for, I think, $10 million or up or something like that per season. And then the Kings initially gave him, I think it was like 7 or 8 million, whatever it was. Don't quote me on that. And they were really hesitant to pay the man, who obviously, was responsible for turning his team around. Malik Monk. I mean, now granted, they couldn't pay Malik what other teams like Orlando or some of these other teams could have offered him. So I'm glad that Malik ended up staying here. But the fact of the matter I'm saying is we've seen this pattern where the Kings may have been a little apprehensive to give a player, coach, what have you, the bag. So I say that, yes, Matt, I think initially, if De'Aaron did make an All-NBA team and is eligible for that Supermax contract that we've seen a lot of players get, I'm sure out of the gate, there will be a little reluctancy in the Kings front office. But the reason why I say no to that, and I think they will pay De'Aaron if he is eligible for an All-NBA contract, is first of all, you have to look what De'Aaron has been to this franchise. Obviously, this is the only franchise De'Aaron has ever played for since he was drafted 5th overall back in 2017. And you also look at, you also look at how De'Aaron has been an integral part, a significant part of the turnaround of the Sacramento Kings over the last couple of years. He's been their bona fide leader, even with the acquisition of Domantas Sabonis. De'Aaron has been their bona fide leader, and he still is their bona fide leader. Sure, would you like to see him more vocal at times? Maybe, yeah. There's some other intangibles that maybe he could, acquire to be a better leader. Sure, absolutely. But at the end of the day, De'Aaron has pretty much done what you guys have asked him to do, and then some. Last year, defensively, De'Aaron, if you ask me, other than the Drew Holidays of the world, was the best, defensive guard in the league. Give or take a few names. So this guy's not only asked him to do what he's done on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively, he's been getting at it as well. And you pair that with what Keon Ellis has been doing, there, you could argue that they are the best defensive backcourt in the whole league. So I say that to say that De'Aaron Fox's value it doesn't need to be justified to this team. We've all seen what the man has been able to do. And if he goes out this year with DeMar DeRozan on his team, and the Kings, just say, Matt, they end up in a 4th or 5th seed this year, make a playoff run, potentially get out of the first round, and he's named an All-NBA player, I think you pay the man. Because my thing always is, if you're not going to give him the Supermax contract, are you okay with losing De'Aaron Fox? And if you're okay with losing De'Aaron Fox, who do you have that you can plug in who can give you that kind of productivity? So that's why I say you pay the man. Will there be initial reluctancy? Sure, because this is the Kings we're talking about. But I think you pay the man.
Like I said at the top of the show, today's episode of Locked On Kings is brought to you by Game Time. This is the app that you need to be using to purchase your tickets from here on out, whether it's tickets to a future Sacramento Kings game, any sporting event. Maybe you're coming here to Levi Stadium for a Niners game or a massive stadium concert. Whatever the event, Game Time has the tickets for it. And here's the thing about Game Time. The closer it gets to the event, the better the deals are going to be. You can save up to 60% on last-minute tickets through Game Time. They have unbelievable flash deals in certain sections and for certain events that become available, and all of a sudden tickets are discounted at ridiculous rates that you won't find anywhere else. They have zone deals. Let's say you know kind of an area of where you're willing to sit. Game Time picks the best seats with the best value in those in that zone for a discount. They have unbelievable seat views, right? So if you were to buy a ticket here at Levi Stadium for a Niners game, you know exactly what your view is going to look like, more accurate than anywhere else. Plus, they have the lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find the same seat on another site for cheaper. That's the Game Time guarantee. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Game Time, last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I don't think there's any logical or realistic scenario where De'Aaron Fox is eligible for a Supermax and the Kings don't give it to him. For a lot of the reasons why you laid out there. But to me, Fox has put up great numbers in the past. Looking back to last season, Fox put up fantastic numbers, didn't get the recognition that he deserved because of the team's success, right? Because unfortunately, and in this case for the Kings, I guess fortunately, that Fox plays for Sacramento, unless he's averaging 40 points per game on a team that's winning 20 games, Fox is, and even then, Fox is not going to get that All-NBA recognition. He has to have both the numbers and the team's success. It's not the same in La La Land with the Lakers. It's not the same with some of these other teams, but that's the reality in Sacramento. So the only way Fox is eligible for the Supermax and Fox is making the All-NBA team, in my opinion, is if Fox is putting up those kind of numbers on a team that is winning more games than they ever have before with him here, which again, that number to me is 50. That 50 win total is what this team is chasing this year. If the Kings are an over 50 win team and Fox is averaging a career high 30 points per game, that's how Fox is in the conversation for all NBA. Remember, it's not just in the Western Conference, right? It's the entire NBA, and the amount of unbelievably talented guards that are in the NBA is ridiculous. And by the way, all NBA teams are positionless now. It's just it's 15 best players. He doesn't have to be first team. It's 15 best players. He was all NBA third team with Sabonis when he won it. And that doesn't matter. He gets there, then he gets the Supermax. So to me, there is no logical scenario where Fox is a Supermax player or eligible for the Supermax, wins an All-NBA or makes another All-NBA team, and the Kings don't pay him. At that point, they'd be foolish, because here's the reality. That is the only way you're guaranteed to keep De'Aaron Fox, right?
Absolutely.
It's the only way. Because if De'Aaron wants to, he could leave and get paid anywhere else. If he decides,
absolutely.
You know what, I am winning motivated and I want to go and join form a super team and win a title. I want to go to LA with my Rich Paul guy, LeBron, or whatever the case he wants to do. He can do that. And I guarantee you, if he's eligible for the Supermax and the Kings go, we don't necessarily want to give it to you.
Yep.
He's probably going to go, screw this.
Exactly.
Where's the loyalty? So in my opinion, the Kings are almost forced. They're forced to give him a Supermax contract at that point. And to me, there's just no other way to look at it. If I'm the Kings, Fox is my guy. I understand if there's hesitations of we're giving the Supermax to a guy that we still aren't 100% certain can be the number one guy on a championship team. But in the modern NBA, especially with the salary caps going up with these new TV deals and big contracts being thrown out left and right, you no longer have to be a bona fide, guaranteed championship caliber leader to get that kind of bag. So if he's eligible for it, you got to give it to him.
Absolutely. I mean, we just saw Lauri Markkanen get his bag this morning. Now, no disrespect. Obviously, the guy was an all-star last year, or excuse me, the season before last. But yeah, it's just the way that the NBA is going right now. We're seeing a lot of guys secure bags, and you're like, yeah, maybe not a superstar, but, they're good. This is the bottom line, man. De'Aaron Fox has done everything that the Kings have asked him to do up until this point. Sure. Are there things that he can improve on? Are there things that he can be better at? Absolutely. But the only thing, Matt, that can hurt De'Aaron Fox, and literally the only thing, and you kind of touched on this, if De'Aaron Fox averages a career high 30 points a game next year, and say he ends up in the top 7 for points per game, and the Kings completely miss the playoffs next year, I think literally that's the only, and say the Kings do, now it's highly unlikely the Kings miss the playoffs next year and he still gets an All-NBA selection. It could be, if he averages 33 a game or something.
I don't know.
But it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
It's highly unlikely. So, so at least that way they wouldn't have to worry about it. But I think the team's success is Fox's success.
100%.
This is a point in time right now where you're looking at Fox and you're saying, I know you're a great player. I know you're an all-star caliber player. We know you're an all-NBA caliber player. Are you a player that can make this team great and not just a winning team one-off, but a perennial playoff team? Meaning every year we're in the playoffs, every year we're, a top 6 seed, what have you. Like, can De'Aaron be the starting point guard on a team that good where he's giving you that much production day in and day out? I think that's the thing the Kings are probably looking at and asking themselves, and that's the thing I think De'Aaron has to prove. Yeah, the Kings may not be another 3rd seed this year, because remember, they're not sneaking up on anybody this year. It wasn't like 2 years ago where they literally snuck up on the whole damn league.
Right.
You're not sneaking up, especially after acquiring DeMar DeRozan. You guys are on the map. Everyone knows what you're dealing with. So, it's going to be harder for them to achieve a 3rd seed this year, but I do think with De'Aaron, as long as he continues to improve upon last year, Matt, whether that's 3-point shooting, whether that's defensively, whether that's he increases his points per game average, whether that's he still shows the clutch player that he is, which may be hard with DeMar there. As long as he just continues to build on those things, Matt, I don't see that there's a way in hell that the Kings do not give him that max. Shall he be named to an All-NBA team?
And here's the good news, too. If it doesn't happen this year, he's still got another year to do it.
Exactly.
And now, it's not like the same thing like a lame duck year for a head coach. Fox will play the final year of his contract without an extension if he thinks that season he can make a Supermax. Because if I'm Fox, again, I'm pretty confident. If Fox goes through the next 2 seasons, play this scenario out, he doesn't make All-NBA team these next 2 seasons, and so he doesn't get eligible for the Supermax. He's still going to get the bag. He's either going to get the max from the Kings that they can offer him that he's eligible for, or he's going to go get the max from somebody else that he's eligible for.
Exactly.
So Fox is still going to get paid. So this is where he can bet on himself a little bit. Now, granted, there's always injuries and things like that, but if I'm Fox, I can't necessarily be afraid of that, right? He's already made a crap ton of money. He can take the risk that he's going to make even more money. He's going to stay healthy. He's going to get that bag. So Fox does not have to get it done this year. This episode of Locked On Kings also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the parts you want, with all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Now, if I were to give you $1,000 right now, and I were to tell you have to put this money on Fox making all NBA this year and being eligible for the Supermax, and this is, at that point, I don't think it's a conversation like we've kind of laid out. If he makes an all NBA team and is eligible for the Supermax, that deal should get done as soon as it possibly can next offseason, right? No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just get it done. But if I give you $1,000 to say I'm betting on yes, he's eligible by the end of the year, or no, he's not eligible. Given everything that we talked about, where are you putting that money?
First of all, if you give me $1,000 right now, man, I'm turning off this freeway, heading up the nearest shopping mall and getting some gear. Maybe buying some new...
1,000 doesn't go very far anymore with the new gear. You know that.
At least you can get 2 really good pair of shoes. You can get some Jordans and maybe some... I don't know. I was going to say another player shoes, but I don't know if I can say that on the Locked On Kings podcast.
Get the new De'Aaron Fox.
That is true. That and he's with Under Armour. He's with Steph Curry's.
With the Curry brand.
The Curry brand. Thank you. So yeah. But anyway, but yeah. So basically, if I'm betting $1,000 on the fact that he's going to be an All-NBA player this year and then be eligible,
it's yes or no. It's you put $1,000 on yes he will, or no he will not be eligible by the end of the year.
I say yes he will, and the only reason I say yes he will is because I think the Kings are going to be a significantly better team than what they were last year.
Love it.
That's all. That's basically all I'm saying. There's no way in hell, Matt, I look at this Kings roster and they drop. First of all, there's no way in hell they miss the playoffs. Second of all, there's no way in hell I look at this Kings roster and say that they drop to even a play-in team. I think they're going to be a top 6 seed this year. Now, granted, we all know the West is stacked. We know the West is heavy, and I could probably name 5 teams right now off the top of my head that could be better than the Sacramento Kings. But the reason I say he's going to be an All-NBA player this year, man, is because... Well, thank you.
I'm giving him directions while we're doing a podcast here. He's got to get on 680. We're going to Santa Clara, baby.
Exactly. I got to make sure that I'm doing my job, and so this is not the last podcast that we both do.
We can podcast and we can navigate. Come on now, multitasking.
It's all about multitasking, something I can't do very well. But anyway, with that being said, I absolutely 100% would bet $1,000 that De'Aaron, sorry guys, I just had to get this last turn. I got it. I got in. Seems like they would give more lanes for this. Anyway, yeah, I do believe. I look at this roster, I look at everything they have, and I also look at the leap De'Aaron Fox made last season. Even though they didn't make the playoffs, you look at the leap he made, and you're like, damn, this is truly a both sides of the ball kind of player who brings an incredible amount of value to this team, and just the leap that he's taken, and now with DeMar there, for better or worse, whether that, limits his touches in, clutch time of the fourth quarter, I still think of anything that's still better because that spreads the floor, that gives them more options, and I think ultimately that will help De'Aaron Fox be the player that he wants to be. So yes, Matt, I'm taking that $1,000. Matter of fact, Matt, I would put $2,000 on the fact that De'Aaron would make it. What about you?
See, I'll ride with it. I'll ride with the optimism, but I will say this. The odds are not in that favor, just because of the circumstance and because of the team that he plays for. Like, that's the reality. Is, again, I don't think, you said top 6 seed. I don't think there's any way De'Aaron Fox makes an All-NBA team and the Kings aren't like top 4. Like, that's just the expectation, especially with Domantas Sabonis still on this roster.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, because of the numbers that Sabonis is going to put up and be the triple-double machine that he is, a lot of people are going to go, okay, if the Kings are getting an All-NBA guy, just like last season, it's probably going to be Sabonis. Unless Fox is the absolute bona fide scorer that the other top guys in the league are. And that's what I think it comes down to. Fox's defense so much better. Mike Brown asked for it. That's fantastic. Leading the league in steals, love that. Clutch player of the year, being a great scorer in the fourth quarter, fantastic. De'Aaron Fox needs to average 30 points a game. Like that, to me, that's it. Plain and simple. De'Aaron Fox needs to be a 30 points per game scorer. If he's doing that with DeMar on this roster, with Keegan, with Monk, with everybody, this team should be in the conversation for being a top 4 team in the Western Conference, if that is the quality of player that Fox is. Now, hopefully it's through the circumstance of you have that 30 points a game in addition, and not the Kings have that 30 points because that's the only thing keeping them afloat, because, knock on wood, injuries and things like that, and Fox literally has to be that every single night for Sacramento to have a chance. But if that's the case, if Fox is averaging 30 points and the Kings are barely sneaking into the playoffs because of injury, again, I don't think he makes All-NBA because of the team's success.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing. And you remember, barring injuries, 3 years ago, that was or 2 years ago, shall I say, that was one of the things the Kings were fortunate for, is that they were pretty healthy for the most part. Obviously, last season, we saw what injuries did to the Kings during the last few weeks of the regular season and ultimately into the play-in tournament. But this is what I'm going to say. Yeah, as a guard, a lot of times you're looked at when All-NBA about the points per game that you're scoring and whatnot. If you look from the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders to Anthony Edwards to, all the guards. Jalen Brunson. You look at that, Luka Doncic. You look at all of those things, and when you grade guards. Whereas, front court, I almost felt like they look at other things. Defense. Is this person like a Rudy Gobert or something like that? A long, lean defensive, not going to put up 30 points a game. And then you have guys that can kind of do both of that, those kind of things, like Giannis or things of that sort. But I feel with guards, you're really more just graded on your points per game. And while that is fair to a certain extent, I think that De'Aaron, when you look at those guards, he is truly a unique guard in the sense that he is gifted on both sides of the ball. He doesn't take off defensive possessions, right, where some of these other guards can do, or the Luka Doncic's of the world will do. He does not take off a defense. And so much is asked of him on the defensive end as well as the offensive end. So yes, if he does average 28 or 27 next year, I hope that's not an indictment on him offensively because of what he's asked to do defensively as well. And that's one of those things where it looks like where you would have to look at the team's success and what they've been able to do. Are they a top 5 or top 10 defensive team? Clearly they were not that the last couple of seasons. But I think that's something else that you have to take into consideration. But yeah, I agree, Matt. When you look at this, just a guard heavy league that it is, and you have these guards who put up 30 a night, yeah, he absolutely has to be in that conversation, or at least a top 5, top 10 scoring guard in the league if he wants to sniff an All-NBA. Because think about it, when he was All-NBA third team 2 years ago, he was averaging 26 or something?
27.
Yeah, 26, 20. So, yeah, he got it 2 years ago averaging 26. But then
I think
also
it's 27 now I think about it.
27? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was somewhere in the mid to high 20s. But then again, the Kings were really good that year. Had a historically offensive great season, and they were third seed. So sure, can De'Aaron average 26, 27 this year and they still make an All-NBA team like he did 2 years ago? I think that would be difficult.
Yeah.
Could it happen? Sure, but I think that would really, unless the Kings are ridiculous, like say the Kings earn a number 1 seed or number 2 seed or something like that. Yeah, you can make the argument he can average 26 and still make an All-NBA team, but the Kings would have to be a 55, 56 win team and really be phenomenal for that to happen. Otherwise, if they are a 5th or 6th seed, I do agree he has to put up at least 30 a game for them to even consider him for All-NBA.
Well, here's the deal. If that's his primary motivation is to get that bag and be a Supermax player and make an All-NBA team again, we know how good De'Aaron Fox plays when he's motivated, right? Whether he's pissed off or he's trying to win a playoff game or whatever the case may be, he's impossible to stop, right? Literally, especially now that he's got a 3-point shot, he's a 3-way scorer. So if that's the motivation over the next 2 seasons, I expect a different level of De'Aaron Fox than maybe we've never seen before. And funny enough, I had a conversation with Luke Lautz about that, one of the Kings assistant coaches and basically the coach that's personally worked with De'Aaron over the last couple of years to help him improve that shot. Had a conversation with Luke about it. Luke said the same thing. De'Aaron's going to be unbelievably good this year. So we'll have to wait and see, and just another reason to hit the fast forward button. Can't wait till October to get this season started. Kevin, let's go cover some football, I guess, huh? Football's a good way to kill the time from now to October. It gets us closer.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. That's the saving grace, because I can't even wait for football season to start.
That's true.
And that's only, 3 weeks away from week 1? So, at least this gives us a buffer or something to hold us off until October when the Kings get back. But this is, Matt, I'll say this. I can't remember when there was this much excitement or anticipation or optimism going into a Kings season. You could argue maybe 2 years ago when they acquired Mike Brown and, Kevin, Malik and all this. But this year, getting Malik to stay, acquiring DeMar, Fox as good as he was last year, seeing that leap. Keegan, another leap that we're going to see for him. I think this is good. I'm really excited, man. This is truly going to be a great year for the Sacramento Kings.
I'll go as far as to say it's the highest expectations they've had since they were a team that's expected to make a championship caliber run. Not that this team is as good as that team. That's not what I'm saying. The expectations this year are higher than they've ever been since that point, right? The expectation for this team is not just get back to the playoffs, although that is absolutely the goal.
Yeah.
The expectation is get there and then do something once you're there.
Exactly.
Right? So we'll see if they can do it. For now, Kevin and I are going to go cover some 49ers training camp, so we'll talk to you soon.